It was a typical Tuesday morning when Sarah found herself sitting at her office desk staring blankly at her computer screen, the soft thumb of the fluorescent lights. Above was a constant reminder of the monotonous routine her life had become. She had been running her own marketing firm for 5 years, and while she was proud of her accomplishments, she couldn't shake that feeling that something was missing. Her husband, David, was the love of her life. They had been married for nearly a decade, and their bond had once been vibrant and full of excitement. However, as the years rolled on, the spark they once shared had dimmed, leaving her feeling lonely and disconnected. Their schedules rarely aligned, and their conversations often revolved around mundane topics like bills and household chores. As she sipped her coffee, her gaze drifted to the doorway. That's when Ethan walked in, her new employee. He was in his late 20s, fresh out of a prestigious university. With an infectious enthusiasm that drew people in since he joined the team a few months ago. Sarah had admired his work ethic and creativity. There was something about the way he smiled that made her heart race. Over the next few weeks, Sarah found herself increasingly drawn to Ethan. They often worked late together, bouncing ideas off each other and sharing the laughter in the dim light of the office. He was passionate about his work, and his energy was contagious. In those moments, she felt alive, as if few of her responsibilities had lifted, if only for a little while. One evening, as they reviewed a marketing campaign, Ethan made a joke that had Sarah laughing harder than she'd had in years. Their eyes locked, and for a brief moment, the world around them faded. Sarah felt a flutter in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. It was exhaling yet terrifying. "Sarah, can I ask you something?" Ethan said, his tone suddenly serious. "Of course," she replied, trying to steady her racing heart. "Do you ever feel like we're just going through the motions in life, like there's more out there for us?" He asked, his gaze earnest. Sarah paused, taken aback by his questionings. "I do sometimes. I feel like I'm stuck in a rut," she admitted, surprised by her own honesty. Ethan nodded, a look of understanding crossing his face. "I think it's important to chase after what makes us happy. Life is too short." In that moment, Sarah realized how much she craved the connection and passion. Ethan spoke of it was a dangerous thought, but it lingered in her mind long after he left for the night. As weeks turned into months, that been between Sarah and Ethan deepened. These shared personal stories, dreams, and fears. Sarah confided in him about her struggles with her marriage, and he listened intently, offering support and understanding. One evening, after a particularly stressful week, Sarah and Ethan decided to grab a drink at a nearby bar. It was supposed to be a casual outing, a way to unwind after work, but as the night progressed, the conversation flowed effortlessly, and the atmosphere became charged with unspoken tension. "Sarah, you're an incredible person. I admire how hard you work and how dedicated you are," Ethan said, his gaze locking onto hers. "Thank you, Ethan. That means a lot coming from you," she replied, feeling a warmth spread through her. Before Shek knew it, they were sitting closer together, their knees almost touching. Thaber was alive with laughter and chatter, but in that moment it felt as if they were the only two people in the world. "Can I be honest with you?" Ethan asked, his voice a whisper of Kasesh said, her heart pounding in her chest. "Of developed feelings for you, and I can't ignore them anymore," he confessed, his eyes searching hers for a reaction. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She felt a rush of emotions, excitement, fear, and guilt all swirling together. "Ethan, I don't know what to say," she stammered, her mind racing. "I know you're married, and I respect that, but I can't pretend like this doesn't matter to me," he said, his expression earnest. The confession hung in the air, and Sarah felt her heart tugging in two different directions. On one hand, she felt an undeniable attraction to Ethan, a spark that had been missing from her life for so long. On the other hand, she was married to David, her partner, her confidant. As she drove home that night, Sarah's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. She loved David, but the connection she felt with Ethan was intoxicating. In the days that followed, she found it increasingly difficult to focus on her work. Ethan's confession lingered in her mind, and their interactions became echoed with an unspoken tension at home. David was oblivious to her internal struggle. He continued to be the supportive husband he had always been, but Sarah felt a growing distance between them. Their conversations had come surface level, and she yearned for deep emotional connection. They unshared one evening as they sat on that couch watching a movie. David reached for her hand. "You seem a bit distant lately. Is everything okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "Yeah, I'm fine," she replied, forcing a smile, but inside she felt a knot tightening in her stomach. How could she explain the turmoil she was experiencing with causing more pain? Weeks passed, and Sarah's feelings for Ethan only intensified. They found themselves stealing glances at each other during meetings, Their chemistry ended one evening as they worked late. The air was thick with tension. "Sarah, can we talk?" Ethan said, his voice low, pulling her from her thoughts. "Sir," she replied, her heart racing as they stepped into the quiet break room. "I can't stop thinking about what I said the other night," he began, his expression serious. "I know this is complicated, but I want to explore this connection between us." Her heart pounded as she looked into his eyes, a mixture of excitement and fear coursing through her. "Ethan, I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm married," she said, her voice shaky. "I understand, but what we have is real. I can feel." I've insisted, stepping closer before she could respond. Helen Inning kissed her gently. Their lips met. A rush of emotions flooded her senses: desire, guilt, confusion. She kissed him back, her sang as she lost herself in the moment. This was what she had craved, what she had been missing in her life. But as they pulled away, reality crashed back, and what had she just done? The days following the kiss were filled with turmoil. Sarah was consumed by guilt, yet the thrill of her connection with Ethan was intoxicating. She knew she had crossed a line, but the spark between them felt undeniable. They continued to work together, but now there was an unspoken tension that hung in the air at them. Sarah felt the weight of her action pressing down on her. David was blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing within her. He continued to be a loving husband she had always known, but the guilt noted at her conscience. One evening as they sat down for dinner, Sarah couldn't shake that feeling of dread rising within her. David chatted about his day, sharing stories and laughed at her, but she felt like an imposter in her own life. "Are you okay, honey? You seem a bit off," David said, concern lacing his voice. "Fine, really," she replied, forcing a smile, but deep down she knew she wasn't anything but fine. Just when Sarah thought things couldn't get any more complicated, Ethan approached her at work one afternoon. "We need to talk," he said, his expression serious. "About what?" she asked, her heart racing. "You've been thinking about us. I can't keep pretending like nothing is happening." "He said, his voice steady. "Ethan, this isn't just about us. I have a husband. I can't just walk away from my marriage," she replied, feeling overwhelmed. "I understand, but I can't ignore my feelings for you. I want to be with you, Sarah," he confessed, his gaze unwavering. Torn between her loyalty to David and her undeniable feelings for Ethan, Sarah felt trapped. "I don't know what to do," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Just think about it. I care about you, and I believe we could be something special," Ethan said, stepping back to give her space. As she watched him walk away, Sarah felt a rush of emotions: fear, excitement, and fusion. She knew she had to make a choice, but the stakes were higher than ever. The following days were filled with uncertainty. Sarah spent sleepless nights tossing and turning, her mind racing with thoughts of Ethan and David. The kiss had changed everything, and now she felt trapped between two worlds. Each morning she forced herself to put on a brave face to continue her routine, but inside Ash was a storm of conflicting emotions. At work, the atmosphere with Ethan was charged. They exchanged furtive glances during meetings, their chemistry palpable, but every time Sarah looked at him, she was reminded of the life she had built with David, the life that now felt fragile and tenuous. One evening, as she sat in her office, contemplating her next move, few of her choices pressed heavily on her. She knew that she had to confront their feelings head on. She picked up her phone and texted Ethan, "Can we talk tonight?" When Ethan replied with a simple eyes, a rush of adrenaline coursed through her. This was it. She had to figure out what she truly wanted. That evening, Sarah met Ethan at a secluded cafe. The dim lighting creating an intimate atmosphere. She felt a mix of excitement and dread as she entered. Ethan was already there, his expression serious. As she sat across from him, fear thickened with unspoken words. "Thanks for coming," Ethan said, his voice steady. "I've been thinking about our last conversation." "Me too," Sarah replied, her heart racing. "I need to be honest about what's going on in my life. I have a husband who loves me, and I can't just throw that away." "I understand that, but I can't deny me feelings for you," he said, leaning forward. "What we have is real, Sarah. You can feel it too." "I do," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't just walk away from my marriage. David has done anything wrong. He deserves better than this." Ethan's expression softened. "I get it, but what about you? What do you want?" Sarah took a deep breath, her sang. "I want to feel alive again. I want the excitement and passion we have, but also don't want to hurt David." "I'm so confused," she said, tears welling in her eyes. Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand. "You don't have to decide right now. Just know that I'm here for you." His touch sent a shiver down her spine, igniting a fire she had long thought extinguished. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw the potential for heartbreak, not just for herself, but for David as well. After their meeting, Sarah returned home, her emotions swirling. David was watching TV in the living room, blissfully unaware of the turmoil inside of her. She felt a pang of guilt as she joined him on the couch. They settled into a comfortable silence, but Sarah felt like a stranger in her own home. "Hey, how was your day?" David is scheduling over. "It was good, just busy," she replied, forcing a smile inside. She felt an annoying sense of deceit. "Do you want to watch something together?" He asked, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. "Sure, that sounds nice," she said, but her mind was elsewhere as they sat together. Sarah felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. She had to make a decision, and soon the following days were filled with introspection. Sarah found herself recalling the early days of her marriage with David, the laughter, the love, the dreams they had shared. She remembered how they used to talk for hours, how they had built a life together based on trust and understanding. But she also recalled the growing distance between them, the late nights at work, the missed opportunities for connection. Was such a thing an illusion with Ethan, or was there a genuine spark that could ignite the passion she craved? One night as she lay in bed, Sarah made a decision. She would confront David about her feelings. It was time to be honest, not just with herself, but with them as well. The next evening, Sarah sat down with David after dinner, her heart pounding. "David, can we talk about something important?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Of course, what's on your mind?" replied, his expression kind and concerned. "I've been feeling really lost lately, and I think it's time I share what's been going on." She began, her throat dry with anxiety. "Okay," he encouraged, leaning forward. "I've developed a connection with Simeon at work. Ethan, it started off as a friendship, but it's grown into something more complicated," she confessed, her heart racing. David's expression changed, pain flickering across his face. "What do you mean by complicated?" he asked, at his voice steady but strained. "I Kissadim," she admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "And I've been struggling with me feelings ever since." David sat back, shock etched on his features. "You Kissadim, how could you do this to us?" Sarah heaved. "So sorry, David. I never wanted to hurt you. I was confused and feeling lost, and I didn't know how to handle it. I love you, but I was drawn to the excitement that I felt with him," she explained, her heart breaking for the pain she was causing. The silence that followed felt deafening. David's eyes were filled with hurt and disbelief. "I trusted you, Sarah. How could you betray him like this?" "I know, and I can't express how sorry I am. I don't want to lose you," she pleaded, desperation sweeping into her voice. "Do you still have feelings for him?" David asked, his voice strained. "I don't know," she admitted, feeling the weight of her choices. "I was drawn to him in a way I haven't felt in years, but I love you. You're my partner, me best friend." David looked away, his expression a mix of heartbreak and anger. "Need time to process this," he said quietly, standing up and walking out off the room. The days that followed were filled with a heavy silence. Sarah felt the emptiness of their home, the absence of laughter and connection. David had retreated into himself, and the love they had built together felt fragile and strained. She threw herself into work, trying to distract herself from the pain of their situation. Ethan reached out, but she didn't bring herself to respond. The thrill of their connection faded as reality set in. She had to focus on repairing her marriage. One evening, as she sat in her office alone, the weight of her choice pressed down on her. She knew she had to take responsibility for her actions and showed David that she was committed to building their relationship. Sarah decided to seek help, schedule couples therapy, hoping it would provide a safe space for both her and David to express their feelings when shared the idea with him. He watched us sit in, but agreed to give it a try. Their first session was difficulty. Sat across from each other, the therapist guiding them through their feelings. David shared his hurt, his sense of betrayal, and how deeply Sarah's actions had affected him. Sarah listened at her, heartbreaking as she realized the pain she had caused. "I want to make this work," Sarah said tearfully. "I want to build what we had, but I know it's going to take time and effort." David looked at her, his eyes filled with sadness. "I want that too, but I need talk now that I can trust you again." The therapy sessions became a turning point. For them, they learned how to communicate openly about their feelings, desires, and their fears. Slowly, they began to rediscover the love that had brought them together in the first place. As the weeks passed, Sarah and David worked hard to heal their relationship. They took small steps, like going on date nights and engaging in activities they once enjoyed together. It wasn't easy, but they were committed to putting in the effort. Sarah began to realize that the excitement she had craved could be found within her marriage. It was about rekindling the passion they had lost and being open to new experience. One evening, as they sat on their couch sharing a laughter over a movie, Sarah felt a warmth in her heart, leaned over and kissed David softly, feeling the connection between them rekindle. "I'm so grateful for us," she said, her voice full of emotion. "I know we've been through a lot, but I believe we can come out stronger." David smiled, his eyes reflecting understanding and hope. "I believe that too, Sarah. We just have to keep working at it." Months later, Sarah and David found Themselves in a much better place, they had rebuilt their trust and strengthened their bond with Letty. Scars of the past remained. They had learned to navigate the complexities of their relationship with honesty and vulnerability. One day as they walked hand in hand through a park, Sarah felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had faced her demons and emerged stronger in love with the man beside her than ever. As they stopped to admire the blooming flowers, Sarah realized that life was about the choices we make and the connections